We are MakilalaTV, the first Filipino American TV talk show in the New York metro area. Get to know us as we talk to the community leaders, innovators, advocates, and emerging artists who affect Filipino American life.
In our first half of our special on Filipinos in Queens, Why We Matter, we were able to get to know our special guest panelists, their thoughts on the current state and impact of civic engagement across age groups, and discuss ways we can work together to elevate the Filipino American political voice. I, Rachelle Ocampo, am your lead co-host, accompanied by my fellow co-host, Cristina Pastor, and our three special guest panelists, Stephanie Crispin, Vice President of Filipino American Unity for Progress, also known as UNIPRO, Randy Gonzalez, attorney at law in New York and New Jersey, and Myrna Santos, registered nurse and founder of the nursingoffice.com. In this second half, we will be bringing it to our live audience, who are excited to share some questions they had for our guests. Let's start with our first question. Please clearly state your name, your affiliation, and who you'd like to direct your question to.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for your insight. My name is Kirkland Escada. I'm currently president of Filipino American Unity for Progress, otherwise known as UNIPRO, like Rachelle mentioned. We are an organization that's dedicated to advocacy, leadership development, and collaboration within the Filipino American community. My question is about the challenges and barriers to Filipino Americans turning out to vote. So you guys talked about personal autonomy, and you also talked about cultural perceptions of being politically engaged. But what are some of the systemic and societal barriers and challenges to Filipino Americans voting, and what are your respective organizations doing to address these issues?
I come from the old school, which is the mahiyain crowd, the quiet one. So now the culture has been changing into a more aggressive, more stronger voice out there, and the energy is out here with the leadership of UNIPRO, and the MakilalaTV is the right venue in order for us to be heard out here. And of course, we need all of Stephanie's group, Randy's group, and the MakilalaTV, and all the Filipino American community. And there's only one piece of advice I need to tell you, which is know your stuff, fight for that mission, which is to be heard out there, be involved, and get the best seat in the House, which is the table of legislation.
There may also be a language barrier as well. There are organizations like, I believe Albany, is it Albany? They do poll monitoring so that they make sure that there's access to the polls for everyone, regardless of what your language preference is. So, so I've done poll monitoring in the past, and there's training for that. It happens every year. You don't have to be a lawyer to do it, but that's also a very important thing as well, because some polling sites have multiple violations in terms of language access.
What's the worst that you've seen?
I personally haven't seen the worst. I've been in some pretty tame areas, but I mean, I hear some pretty bad stories around Queens. And, you know, poll workers aren't exactly well trained at all times. So that's another barrier to access to the polls.
Do Filipinos work as poll workers? Do they volunteer as poll workers?
I've seen some. It's usually a pretty wide range of ethnicities volunteering at the polls. But in terms of poll watchers, I've seen other Asian Americans, other Filipinos, lawyers, non-lawyers, watching what kind of language access they have at these polls. So
That's not really, language is not really a problem, right?
It is a
But
problem.
he's saying it is for
It,
Filipinos.
it actually is because you have a lot of Asian segments that
I mean, Filipino Americans.
Filipino Americans not so much.
Not so
I
much.
personally haven't seen that, but there are Chinese Americans. There are other Asian Americans, various South Asian Americans who speak multiple languages, and English may not be one of them. So that's another barrier.
I definitely think that language access is an issue across different ethnicities. Like if you're talking about like language access for any kind of services, the mayor's office of immigrant affairs makes it a point to come to communities and do forum outreach to be like, these are the number of resources available across the city for you, and if you need Tagalog, they have it.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
we do.
they have
We have
sign-up
Bisaya
sheets.
and Ilocano.
Yes, yes.
So they have it for people who are not necessarily proficient or have ESL, like English Second Language. But I also think that apathy is one of like the biggest challenges, because like I know for youth, we're like, why should we vote? Not like anything that we say matters or people listen to you. But the changing demographics for the United States shows that we are going to be even bigger than the baby boomers, right? And so it's really pertinent for us to be engaged and go to the polls and vote, because numbers matter. Showing up matters.
And our second question, can you state your name, your affiliation, and who you're going to direct your question to?
Hi everyone, my name is Laki Siup. I'm with Filipino American Leadership Program and Filipino American Unity for Progress based in Chicago. And my question is a brief question directed at all three. You guys talk about civic engagement, but what do you feel are the best resources out there for Filipino Americans to be involved in the community?
Best resource.
The organizations themselves. We are the best resources for these people in order to know what is it there to be involved with. We have to make our advocacy. We have to do, if we want to move towards increasing the vote, we have to educate them the importance of the number, importance of the vote. And we have to register them. We have to go find where they are and start the process. And I think, and keep talking to them. That is the social advocacy, which is to tell about them why we matter, why we have to speak up. We are from the Mahiyain crowd. We have to speak up
But when
and
you
get
say the
that
Mahiyain
number.
crowd, you mean the baby boomers?
No, we
Oh,
are
that's
the
just
old. We are the old school. We were never taught how to talk against or to talk our minds.
So it cuts across all generations.
That's right. So now I come from the old school. Now I have to move up, speak up, and be heard. That's what I have been doing. That's the reason why I have the nursing office, not only to help the nurses who were bullied, who were trampled out there, to speak up, be heard, and this is us. Exactly the same with the community.
And in terms of other resources in the community, specifically, what are some tools, practical things that people can go to that we can rely on?
I feel like I know for students or young professionals, really plugging into your particular like student orgs, because they have the capacity, right? So for student organizations within universities, they get their funding from your student fees, right? So they actually have the resources to bring you information. Like Unipro, we do, through our Usapan program, we do moderated discussions with college students about whatever issue that they want in particular. So if they're like, I want to talk about student loans and like, what do I do? Like, how do I register for FAFSA? Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay for grad school? We can come to you. Like, there's also Filipino American student organizations that are across, like, states. Like, so there's obviously FIND, where I came out of as a student.
Which stands for?
Filipino Intercollegiate Networking Dialogue, and that's like for the East Coast. Midwest has, I believe, MAFA. It's like Midwest Asians, Filipinos everywhere. They have like, there's different regional associations for Filipinos that you just need to be plugged into. There's NAFA, which is like the National Federation of Filipino American Associations.
But there are Filipino Americans who are not members of any organization in any way. How do you tap into that silent population?
I'm personally part of that because I'm in my late 30s and I often get lost in the shuffle, so I don't have a school to go to. I think Unipro is a great resource.
No, but you have Falani.
I do,
Yeah.
and you know, but to those that are not lawyers, you know, you have not too many choices out there. So I think Unipro has always been a good bridge to the gap because I've always been caught in the middle and I've just been lost. So Unipro has always been a great resource. Just as a practical matter, to answer the question, Twitter's always been a great resource for me. So if I wanted to reach the public advocate, if I wanted to reach somebody, the controller, I've just tweeted out there at whoever the public advocate was, whoever the controller is, and I usually get a response within
No
a
way.
couple hours.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very effective.
That
Very,
is
very
something
effective.
that I can start doing.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's more effective than Facebook.
Oh, yeah, it's more
more
effective
effective
than
than
email. It's
Facebook.
more effective than Facebook. Twitter,
It's like
the most
public
responsive.
shaming, you know?
Because it's public.
You
Yes,
have,
exactly
you
right.
have to talk to me because I spoke to you.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's
So-
something that they could actually take home and use. They could
Absolutely.
basically tweet right now to their public
I
advocate.
had a problem with my parents' property in Jamaica, in Queens, and I tried the public advocate's website. I tried their email. I did not get as fast a response as I got with Twitter. So as soon as I made it somewhat a veiled threat in the tweet,
We're all gonna go to your Twitter feed and find that one.
then I immediately got a response. So
Okay.
Twitter I've always found to be a great tool.
I mean, I've done that for the MTA. I'd be like, why is there a delay on my train? They're like, there's signal problems. They responded to me on Twitter.
Wow.
It's an extremely public forum, so I've always found it to be a great tool.
It's also very good for journalists. May I request an interview with you? They have to answer me because it's out there in the public.
Wow.
Right.
I made a request for an interview.
All right. And our third question.
First of all, I have to apologize. I came in late.
Yeah.
Not a
and I wasn't
problem.
able to catch up because I just came from a meeting from one of our funding partners in Long Island, Farmingdale, Long Island, New York.
Yes.
My name is Vern. And sometimes, I don't want to give my last name
Okay.
because my last name is Aguilera. And I'm not the uncle of Cristina Aguilera. Okay.
Oh, just speak into the mic just
Yes.
so that we can hear your
And to
question.
introduce myself briefly, I'm a retired CPA and I retired college professor as well. I am from Secaucus, New Jersey. And one thing that I want to share with you is I'm not mahiyain. I'm the walang hiya. It means to say I am an advocate of community blending, but a truly supporter of community building. And without saying so much, I'm now retired. I am now the president and CEO of PhilAid Foundation.
Yeah,
Advocacy, so simple. It's just there in the name.
that's right.
PhilAid, Filipino aid. Aid to those Filipinos who are in need in the Philippines.
Okay.
So as simple as that, my question, because this is a political thing, my question is this.
Specific to Queens.
So Queens, my question, it's not a question because it was already pointed out by the first is how do we change? For the millennials, I don't see it as an issue. They vote based on what they think should be voted, right? But for those who are coming, because Filipinos are continuously migrating. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
And the voting habits of those who are coming from the Philippines, it's hard to break. Number one is the mahiyain is one. And the other thing is this. They will vote based on this principle. Small favor, big gratitude mentality. All Filipinos, do you agree with me with that? Yes. They will vote because who will ask for them to vote? Like me. If I ask them to vote and they owe me a favor, whether they vote for whether they don't want to vote for the other one, but they're looking at me. So how do we address this issue so that Filipinos will vote based on what's their heart, based on the issues, based on what's their mind, and based on what is best for the community, and based on what is best for our country, the United States.
That's right.
That's all I can say.
Anybody want to start?
We have to change our culture, which is we are always thinking first that we are Filipinos. We are still thinking of the Philippines out there. We are not thinking of where we are and our second country. This is our country now, and we should be involved with the issues that affect us over here, not over there. So we see a lot of Filipino Americans with dual citizenship. They talk about the election in the Philippines. What about the election in the United States? It's all the same coming up. We are supposed to be thinking of what are the issues here, not in the Philippines. Yes, we do, but let's start with where we are. Be heard and be strong.
I'd like to challenge that you can be educated in both U.S. and Philippines, and as a dual citizen, that you should have the responsibility to act on those responsibilities on voting on both Philippines and the U.S. So I think you should challenge everyone who is a dual citizen to do both. They shouldn't just do one.
That's right.
Yes.
I think when you talk about people who think more about Philippine politics, you're talking about one demographics, really, the older generation.
The older generation.
Because people like them who were born here, they don't really care who the candidates are in Manila.
That's true, very true. That's why I'm
Yeah.
speaking
Actually, I
of
do.
the.
I know, I do too.
speaking
I
of-
do.
Speak for yourself.
We're the 1%.
Yeah.
I'm speaking for the
For
Elder,
our
our generation.
Yeah.
In terms
Right.
of changing culture, I'm not going to be changing culture for somebody who's going to be older than me. So I mean, the only person that can change it is someone in their age group. And I tried to get my parents involved, and my parents have very different personalities. My father's very outgoing. My mother's very much to herself. Excuse me. So it starts with your family, and you can try to go outside of your family as much as you can, but. But that's the easiest way to go, is to get somebody who's that age, that particular age, to change culture. And it's not going to be me telling them what to do.
That's
So,
true.
yeah.
I absolutely agree. I think that it's always about talking to one person. Just start the conversation, right? Like Randy, I talk to my parents all the time about these things. They feel like they're more likely to listen to you because you're their child, right? Like they can't just turn you off like they turn off the TV.
Right.
So it's like, no, this is why you should like care, right? Like explain it into terms that they understand too. Because a lot of the times the conversation's super wonky and we'll talk about things that are going on in Washington. Break it down and be like, if we have potholes, it's because you did not vote for a mayor who wanted to fix potholes.
Right.
What do they say? I mean, I'm curious about conversations between two generations. Do they actually listen to you, or are their minds made up? Are they stubborn in their ways?
Unfortunately, they are.
They are.
All I can do is try to chip away and try to persuade, because I'm a lawyer, my business is persuasion. So all I can do is keep trying. All I can keep doing is chipping away. So if I can change culture slightly, maybe by a tenth, maybe by 100th, then I'm going to keep trying. But for the most part, I do believe that people our parents' age are very much set in their ways. But that doesn't mean you can't change them. You just have to be gentle. I mean, I can't sit there and yell at my parents. It just doesn't work that way. So trying to change slightly, small chips, small little pieces. That's all I can do. Yeah.
So going back to his question about people being persuaded very easily in terms of like favors for votes, I saw it firsthand in the Philippines when I was there literally last week, and I saw banners everywhere of specific candidates. And I've heard stories of candidates like basically paying like 1,500 pesos per family so that they could be like, oh, vote for me.
Vote for the
And
candidate.
they will. That's how the culture has been. And I feel like that here, I think that we could start changing that through education.
I don't see why Bert would raise that question, because that does not really apply to this situation here.
But in terms of mentality of like the favors
There's really,
and
do we have that? Do we have that here? I never see that. I have not even heard that as a form of feedback, that we try to influence our voting patterns based on favors that we will receive. I don't know. Maybe within other communities, but Filipinos, I don't think so.
I think in general, in terms of
Can-
like issues,
am I
like
wrong? I can be wrong.
politicians would put issues out there that say, oh yes, I'll do this, yes, I'll do that, yes, I'll do this, to say that they're going to commiserate with a specific population. But anyway, let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Okay. This is probably going to be our last. So.
Thank you very much. My name is Ludy Resurrection. I'm program director of the nursing office .com. I was with APICHA. I was Coalition for Breastfeeding Filipino Women. We wrote a book on healthcare, challenging the healthcare apartheid. We have a little prop there, okay? We did a lot, and we focused on the contribution of the nurses, the medical professions. Now, my advice, grandfather told my mother during Japanese time, learn the master's language and master the master's language. When you come here, that was the colonial part, okay? When you come here, talk dollars, guys. This is the capital of world, this is the center of capitalism in the world. Dollars speak, okay? According to our research, our mother country spent $4.8 billion to educate the nurses. All of us come here already educated. Uncle Sam, please give us back what we invest, our parents invested. Now question 2, do we get even 0.000% of $4.8 billion as of 1998, okay? In terms of services to our community, hey, we're falling through the cracks too, like everybody else.
And
Okay.
so, Ludy, we don't have much time, but do you have a question specifically to...
I want them to answer that question. How do you
Maybe-
talk
maybe
in
Mira.
dollars?
Okay.
Okay? And structure your organizations and your language to talk in dollars.
Okay.
Because money talks in this
So
country.
we don't have too much time, so like really 10-syllable responses.
I'll definitely start. Well, it's really important to have the data available.
Okay.
If you're talking about institutional funders, like on a foundation level, they don't know that Filipinos need help because there's no data available. We're kind of just folded into this general mass of what Asian Americans are. And so you need to do qualitative research studies. You need to do quantitative research studies to show what the needs are.
Okay, and Brandy?
Just vote. Just showing that you're a taxpayer that cares. Those are your dollars talking.
So register to vote and make sure you end up voting. Yes. And Myrna?
Find the best seat in the House. You sit by the legislative committee. Go to your community board and speak up. Find out the issues. See the things that matters to you. See the things that affect you. And that's where you stand and speak it up.
Great. And as we close the second half of this episode, MakilalaTV would like to share our thanks again to Manhattan Neighborhood Network for hosting us, to Unipro for co-sponsoring this episode, to the guest panelists, and to the live audience that we have here, and of course our special guest performers. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, shout out to our missing co-host, Jen Furer, who helped coordinate this episode while traveling abroad. And we have a special performance by guests from the Vince New York Entertainment production of Ay de las Alas concert. They will first be sharing some information about their upcoming show called I'm Back, live in New York City, which is directed by Bobby T. Yulong. And it's going to be on March 26th, before one of our special acts, Desiree, performs. So let's give a round of applause to Desiree.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out and I'll lay your ship bare. See how I leave it with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I would do. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch and it's bringing me out the dark. The scars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we should have had it all. Rolling in the deep. the beat. Baby, I have no story to be told, but I've heard one of you and I'm gonna make your head burn. Think of me in the depths of your despair. Make a home down there as mine sure won't be shared. The scars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we should have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it to the beat. Should have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it with the beating. Throw your soul through every open door. Count your blessings to find what you look for. Turn my sorrow into treasure gold. You pay me back in kind. I reap just what you sow. We could have had it all. We could have had it all. It all, it all, it all. We should have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it with the beat. Should have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it, you played it, you played it, you played it to the beat. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.